In life, we're looking for how do I make a life worth living and retirement worth having. In order to do that, we have to lay our lifelines on the line sometimes. What that means is when we produce a life, usually through a job, through employment with a company or a corporation or an international, veneration and organization, we have to understand the rules of life. We also have to understand the rules and governing laws that govern that industry. I'm going to keep it simple as I can today. What we understand about most people who've been college educated is they sort of get a sense of those rules when they go into those companies. They go through HR, they go through the standard on the job training, and they get the book of code of ethics that come from that company. They get the rules of the company, what you can and can't do on behalf of the company. There are plenty of people in retail that never train the people coming in, and it's because they look at people as just a body. They have so much attrition and they have very little retention that they just don't know how to handle it. Typically, the attrition rate of a company is totally directly related to the manager on hand. Most companies are dying to keep their managers because they're the ones that are on salary, they're the ones that are on benefits, and those are the ones that have to do all the paperwork on. When it comes to an hourly employee, they don't have to do much paperwork. It's just an in, out, quick background check, possibly quick okay approval, even though you've had some sticky shit in your life, and boom, they've got a new employee. What I observe all around town is that employees are not properly trained. They are not being trained by a training coordinator that represents the national corporation. And that's something they need to do. Now, what I had was a marvelous training with a company called Duluth. I won't talk about the quality of the company after I got there because the training coordinators all left, and so did my favorite manager named Corey. But here's the deal. Here's what you have to understand is real. That when you are on the job or off the clock in your company uniform, and you have met an individual through that company or that service or that provision of employment that you are doing for yourself on behalf of a corporation, you better believe that your relationship is still intact with that connection. Just because you're off the clock doesn't mean you're really truly off the clock if you're wearing your company's logo. You see, it's you who share with people where you work. But if they have met you through the behalf of your behaving like a jerk, like a manager of some of the local companies are, or if they have met you through the fact that you've had a social conversation just by casual, just by being human, just by being good neighborly with that employee, that still is intact. Anything you do to that individual that is not a part of an actual transaction, an act, if you will. Act is when you serve with authenticity. C is when you convert the customer, and T is when you actually totally gain the transaction. It causes the individual consumer to act. Regardless of whether the act takes place, the act of basically buying from a place, a space, a product, a vended thing, you have to understand that your lie will never stand today. And what I mean by your lie is that you think you have the right to avoid those rules called consumer rights. Those are actually laws in America. And in America, we have to make a better benchmark, a better standard that says you absolutely have no right to talk about what someone does in your store, in your company, right? These are areas of confidentiality. This is proprietary information. You are creating a relationship with the consumer that is soon to become a customer that will eventually become a long-term client. You see, in order for a company to make a good splash in a marketplace and stay afloat, you have to get, earn, and keep customers. And once you get, earn, and keep customers, you might be able to dabble into more of the professional realm of calling them a client when you're talking about them. Different companies, different organizations, different non-for-profits use different words to stand for the consumer. But a consumer has rights, and that consumer's right is almost always the higher position than an employee of a company's desire or opposition or opinion about that individual. I can guarantee that with my incontinence problems, I probably don't smell all that great. But what miffs me off is when I wake up after a long night to find that something I purchased underneath the confidentiality of going to a store choosing how to use my discretionary income, and choosing the vendor of that product, basically the company that owns that product, in other words, what they put in the store, as well as the store itself, has violated my privacy and told someone what I bought.